This conference will now be recorded.
My screen is visible to all.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So first we will start with the what is cloud computing. So I just want to know that the participant who are present here, what they know about the cloud computing. They can type their answer in chat box. So anyone who know about the cloud computing, they can type their answer in chat box. Can you describe the cloud computing in one line? What does it mean? Securing data. So
Yeah,
Manjuna,
okay, sir. I
just
can I describe?
yeah, you can tell in one line. Otherwise, you can type in chat box.
Yeah, cloud computing nothing but and it is one of the data transferring from one server to for data can be transferred from client to a server within a cloudly.
Uh, okay, no need to install any software
Yeah,
to
it's
pull software.
we need to install the software by an AWS, sir. Amazon Web Service Cloud Computing.
See, if we are talking about computing, computing means like we are processing the data, right? So in traditional way, how our network was that like earlier when we say that a few year back, we have our own data center, like when the cloud computing is not there. So in basic like data center, we have one server and there are some clients like who are using, who are accessing that server. So everything we have in a physical form in our data center. So when like when there is some a startup who want to do some business in IT or who want to like do any kind of a business, like for example, if we take any person who want to sell their product, so for that they need to maintain their product catalog and they need to like maintain the server, and there are a lot of components. So first they need to procure a server, and then they need to procure a networking devices, then they need to procure a internet connection. So it is a very tedious task to set up a data center. Sometime it will take from 10 days to like more than a month if we are setting up a big this data center or a network. So in cloud computing, what we get is we get all that infrastructure which we need to like set up any kind of IT business or any kind of business which use IT services. We can host it in on the cloud. When I mean cloud, cloud is like uh, in some place where we can utilize that services. So for example, like you are using Google Drive. So you are storing your data on a Google Drive. It's mean you are storing your data on the cloud storage. So that storage is not physically with you, but still you are able to store and retrieve your data. So can anyone tell me the 6 advantages of cloud computing?
Yeah, low cost, high speed of the
Uh,
backup and restore the data, reliability. automatic
Low
software
cost.
integration.
Yes, you can say low cost means when you are setting up a new business. So for setting up a new business, it required a lot of cost to set up a server. And then, for example, if I take a typical example of a data center, you need to do is you need to do to procure a one server, maybe server ranging from 1 lakh to 5 lakh, depending upon your requirement. And then you need to install network devices. Then you need to provide a separate space, a room in which you install all of your this device. So you need to create a cooling system there. Please mute your mic. Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I'm audible now.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes,
So I'm telling that this like setting up the initial cost of data center. So server will cost around 1 to 4 lakh, depending upon the type of application you are using and how powerful server you procure. And the network component also depend upon like how big your network is. So if you are the switch will start from 15,000 unmanaged switch of a good company like brand like Cisco, and it goes up to lakh, depend upon the size of your network and the functionality you want from that switch. And also you will hire some IT professional to install and manage that network, and some cooling system are required. And you also need to run 24 by 7 that system. So it if we from setting up a one small data center, you can say which can support a 30 to 35 user. It will require a cost of between 5 lakh to 10 lakh. So that is very much big upfront cost if you are a startup. So that cost will recover once your business will grow. If your business not successful, then there is a huge liability on your side. Like you, then if due to any circumstances, if you want to close your business, then all this IT asset which you have procured at the cost of 10 lakh, they will resell at around 2 lakh or maybe 3, if you get a good price. So setting up initial cost is very high for a data center, but in cloud computing, there is an initial cost is very low. All this services which you want to use, like to set up a server or to set up a network or set up a security features like firewall. So you will get as a pay on go model. So even AWS is charging you as low as for second services, like per second billing is also available in AWS. So cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of compute power, database storage, application, and other IT storage, other IT resources. So, so the most basic way to define what the cloud is, that it is a computer located somewhere else that is accessed via the internet and utilizes in some way. The web services is also another name for what people call cloud. The cloud is comprised of a server computers located in a large data center in a different location around the world. So when you use a cloud service like AWS, Amazon Web Services, you are utilizing the computer owned by AWS. So it's mean the AWS is your cloud service provider. So can you name how many cloud service provider are there right now as on today? Who are the major player
Azure,
in the cloud
Alibaba,
space? Yeah, GCP is also
Google
there.
Cloud Computing.
Azure and Google Cloud.
Yeah, GCP is short form of Google Cloud Computing. So, and any other cloud service provider?
Microsoft Azure.
IBM.
Azure.
Yeah,
Azure.
IBM is there,
Azure.
Oracle is there. So there are a lot of service providers are there. So if you see, this is how the data center will look like. If you have anyone who have got a chance to visit any data center, so they you can see that there are a lot of server racks are there. So all these servers are connected with the network. So this is a typical kind of scenario you will see when you visit some big company data center. So it like the our pain area is to set up the cloud, so it will eradicate that, and then you can start using services by just creating an account with the AWS, and you can finalize what type of services you want from AWS, and you can start away right away. Otherwise, it will take a month to set up those services. So with AWS, you need to create a AWS account, and then you need to select the resource like the virtual machine. If you want to create AWS, call it EC2. So Elastic uh, Compute Cloud. So and then you can perform like install any kind of operating system there. If you want to install Windows OS, Linux, or Mac, or any other OS, like any other flavor from the Linux, like Red Hat, CentOS, whatever OS you want to install, you can install it there. You can also set up your database. So every services which usually we install in our data center, so AWS created a online service for that. So you don't need to pay for a full infrastructure at front. You only need to pay when you are running that service. So it is now these days AWS is like costing per second billing. So as you know that all these services are like provided through the software, like online mode. So there are various technology also, because these days when we are building a large network, so uh, AWS provide us a lot of service. We can also use a automation. So automation means like there are services which can define all these assets which we require to build an infrastructure. We can write a simple code, and then we can deploy that infrastructure within a minute. Infrastructure, if we take example of a small infrastructure, means like one VM with one private cloud, and then some database services like MySQL or DynamoDB. So you can debut that in a minute with the form of the scripts. So anyone here who have a AWS account created for their practice, or they can type in a message. So there are three model of cloud computing. One is IaaS, infrastructure as a service. Second is PaaS, platform as a service, and the last is SaaS, software as a service. So the infrastructure as a service means like when we are like requiring a whole infrastructure, like AWS is managing their server, and like the machining part AWS will manage. Rest of the other things like OS and like deploying OS, we have to manage. And in platform as a service, for
The time is 3:30 p.m. Let's go grab a glass of water. And why don't you go wash your hands?
so platform as a service means like when we want to like want that the OS part will be taken care by the service provider, and we have to run our application on that. So software as a service, like when we are using some software as a service, so application provider will take care of infrastructure platform and then software part also, but we are using software as a service. For example, like any application which we are using through cloud is an example of a software as a service. So three cloud deployment mode. One is like all cloud, then hybrid, then private cloud. So all cloud means whatever the infrastructure we are using, whatever the services we are using, we deploy all in cloud. So AWS has a lot of different services, like more than 500 services. So to meet all our need for the IT, they we can deploy it on the cloud. Hybrids mean like mix some cloud services and some private services. For example, if we take a example of a banking sector, so some crucial servers, like some server which bank do not want to expose to the internet, or do not want to to secure the data, so they want to they have hosted that server in their private zone. And some services which are they are for uh, want to use on the internet, so they deploy some services on the cloud network. So private cloud is like basically a company which is having their own infrastructure available to like work from anywhere from the world. That is a private cloud, but not accessible to the public. So for example, if any engineer working for IBM, so IBM have their private cloud set up in the US. So whenever that person travel outside the US, they will use a special VPN connection or some other means to connect to their private cloud. So their cloud will be accessible from anywhere else, but yes, they do require a specific VPN login to access their cloud services. So as you see, all in cloud versus on premises. So this is the like costing factor. So let's take a closer look at the capacity in the all in cloud and on premises solution. In all in cloud solution, capacity is in sync with demand. and resources are provisioned and decommissioned in response to the demand with only one couple of clicks. So you no need to like wait. You can whatever the resources you want, you can deploy that resources within a minute. So on premises deployment, because you rely on physical hardware, you have to forecast your capacity. First of all, when you are planning for a data center, so you need to forecast your capacity, and also you will deploy that solution which will work for a 10 year. So at least 10 year ahead planning you have to make, so that you whatever the infrastructure you are setting up today, so there will be no need to change that infrastructure for next 10 years. So you need to buy more storage, and you need to buy like higher end server, so that every year you do not want to like update your hardware. So at least that capable hardware you want to deploy today, that it will work for another 5 to 10 years. So means like if you are purchasing enough powerful server to to meet your future need, then you have to at least spend more bucks from your pocket. For example, if the need is your today need is fulfilled with a 1 lakh of investment of infrastructure, then you need to at least invest 5 to 6 lakh to also meet the need for the future point of perspective. So if you can see that all in cloud mean no upfront investment, low ongoing cost, focus on innovation. So this is the main advantage like we are using, because maximum time the companies are worrying on their like procuring the IT assets, and the major focus of their work is consumed toward implementing the IT infrastructure. So definitely then there will be a less time for the innovation, and flexible capacity, speed and agility, global reach on demand. So on premises mean large initial purchase, labor, patches managements are there, upgrade cycles are there, system administration, fixed capacity, long procurement cycle and setup, and limited geographic region. Means like if you want to expand your network, like after working 1 or 2 year, then you want to set up your this office in suppose if you have a today office in New Delhi, and you want to set up your office in Chennai, then you need to again purchase all this infrastructure, or you will access your infrastructure through remotely, but again it will consume more sources, and you need to it will take a time for implementing that solution. So what can you do in the cloud? You can use a cloud platform for application hosting, backup and storage, content delivery, for setting up a website, enterprise IT, and database. So there are some popular example of biggest cloud service this user, that is Netflix. So everyone I think heard about Netflix. So Netflix has all its services deployed on this. And everyone, sorry, you are not sharing your screen. My screen is not visible.
Yeah, it's visible, sir.
Okay, okay. So Netflix is the biggest user of that AWS services. So they have hosted all their infrastructure in cloud. So that is why they are very much fast in delivering online this video content. So this is the comparison of on-premises infrastructure with versus AWS web services. So on-premises, if we are talking about firewall, access controls, administrators, so these are the services in AWS's security group, network access control list, and identity access management. Like similar, like you can call it like a Active Directory, or where you can control the user or authentication process. So there are firewall like Cisco, Checkpoint, like other brands are also there. So these are the representation of same services which we are using on premises versus cloud services. So on the network side, a router, network pipeline switches, we have elastic load balancing and Amazon virtual private cloud uh, in AWS. So on-premises services, we have Amazon machine image, which we can call EC2 instance. So that service replace on-premises service server. So our storage and database, DAS, SAN, NAS. So we have elastic block storage, elastic file system, Amazon S3, and Amazon RDS. So important cloud terminology, high availability. When you mean high availability means like AWS or the cloud infrastructure, if that cloud infrastructure is good enough, they can provide us a high availability of their resources. Means they have a multiple reason where they have installed their data center. So in some like bad scenario where when there will be some kind of a natural disaster occur, for example, if we take this any earthquake or any kind of a natural disaster where the services at one region are shut down due to that natural disaster, then they have a ability to provide a seamless transferring our traffic from one region to another. Like they have a other reason to serve the request which is routing to our website. So that is they have a highly available this like high availability of their IT resources. Fault tolerant means sometime if machine goes bad, like some hardware failure or any uh, storage device failure, so they have a multiple like backup of our this server. So the traffic will route from one machine to the other machine, so that there will be a no downtime. Scalability means like ability to easily grow in size, capacity, or a scope when required. For example, if we take example of this big billion sale or Black Friday, which is like happening in Amazon shopping sites or this Flipkart shopping site. So whenever there are they do some kind of a event like big billion sale or Black Friday sale, at that time the traffic on their website will increase from 1x to 10x, mean 10 times more traffic come on that day, because everyone are looking at a lot of products, and they usually stay longer on the website than non-sale day. On the sale day, like people are looking for a good option so that they can buy any smartphone or any item which they require. So at that time, there are a lot of heavy traffic on the website. So at that time, if we have a same network which support 100 user, and when on the sale day, if that size of traffic increase from 100 to 1000 user, then there will be a lag in our server, or sometime our application crashes. So that time we require a more compute resource. when I say compute resource means more server or more this IT resources to accommodate the need of 1,000 users at a time. So what AWS or AWS provides is to scalable automatically. Like when it detect that there is a large increase of traffic or our CPU is utilized more than 100% or more than 80%, it will automatically create a second instance of our same server, so that the traffic will route from between the two server. For example, 10 user on first server and then 10 user on 100 user on first, 100 user on second. And when it detect that there will be a increase of user from 200 to 300, then it will automatically fire a third instance of a same server, so that the load will be shifted to the this third server. So likewise, whatever the maximum limit we have fixed them, or uh, we want to increase accommodate all the user, that machine will automatically initiated by AWS resource if we configure for auto scaling. So it will our application will not uh, go down. It will automatically accommodate 1,000 user without configuring any other part at that time. So AWS will charge only for that time frame when there are additional source of IT resource required for auto scaling, like to serve 1,000 user. When the sales goes off, then the normal user capacity reach to 100 only, then it automatically delete the other EC2 instances, or you can say the server. So you will only charge for that particular day when your sales is on. So for example, if the sale is go for 3 days, then only 3 day they will charge for an extra machine, and the rest day they will charge for the normal machine. So elasticity, ability to grow scale when required and to reduce in size when the resources are needed. Some so what we learned till now is the cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of IT resources online with pay-as-you-go price. So there are three model of cloud computing. One is IaaS, a PaaS, and SaaS. So AWS offers us a multiple option to work with. We can have all cloud or hybrid or private cloud. So the cloud services are available to replace a traditional on-premises compute activities. So anyone have any question related to what we have discussed till now? You can type in chat box if anyone have question. So Gangesh just asked that is there any drawback from of cloud computing? Just a minute. Sorry, I got a call. So, anyone know the disadvantage of cloud computing? You can type in chat box. So there are yeah, internet connectivity. Yes, yes. So whenever the internet goes down, because all the IT resources which cloud offer us, we can only access when there is a internet. If there is no internet, then we are not able to access our cloud. So, like for example, if I am having 10 user or 30 user IT office, so if I am storing my data on the local server, so I do not depend upon the internet. So if the internet is there or not, uh, I it doesn't have well, hamper my work because I can access my file from the local server. But in cloud, you have to have a good internet connection, not a basic internet connection, but you need a good internet connection because a lot of user accessing a resource over the internet from your premises. 30 user, if all they are downloading some heavy data from the cloud, then also you need to pay for a higher bandwidth for the internet. Yes, risk of data confidentiality is there, but AWS provide us a lot of feature to secure our data. But still, it is not in our premises. It is on somewhere else in cloud. So some risk are always there. That is why these days these defense system we don't have services which are related for our national security. We don't want to defense don't host it on the cloud. Any other disadvantage? So, when hosting app, our one also you can say advantage or a disadvantage. AWS very frequently they are changing the way of their interface. So sometime it is difficult for a person to adapt to new change. So these are also some disadvantage because when we are creating account on AWS, we are signing some kind of a term. We are agreeing on their term and conditions. So they can change their interface without our acknowledgement. So though they do us option to stay back on previous this interface, but again very frequently like after a year or 6 month they will obsolete that interface and we forcefully have to shift to the new interface. So I will do one thing. I will show you like my AWS account so that you can see that AWS Cloud Console. Just a minute. Give me 1 minute time. So my browser screen is visible to you. Okay. So I will show you this AWS console. If someone don't know how it look like, I will show you console. So I have typed AWS console on the Google, and it will redirect me to this window. So we will start sign up. So when you put your email ID, it will ask you for a password. You can also choose multi-factor authentication, means if you want to secure your access. So there are other authenticator app come like Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authentication app, which you can have it on your mobile. So it will generate a code for a 30-second. So it is a more secure way to the login. If you don't want to compromise your account password with anyone. So it is always good to have authenticator app, because it every 30 seconds it will change the code. So multi-factor authentication will provide a more security to your account. So this is the interface of AWS. So if you can see that services tab, it will list down all the services. So AWS offer more than 500 services, maybe more, because they are continuously adding more and more services every day. So like every field, for every field, they have their services like analytic, application integration, AR, VR, AWS blockchain, then some compute resources containers are there, database are there. So basically, every service which are like using a computer, so they they have made their special cases. Like for example, if you want to develop some AR and VR application, so that application require more resources, like they are require more graphics card and more compute resources, and also like high GPU resource. So they have optimized that machine to such extent that they can handle any kind of 3D modeling this animation. So they have optimized they have provided that services under that you can say category. So I will show you how to create this first virtual machine. So we can type EC2 in search. So it will take you to the EC2 home page. So when you are working with the AWS console, you need to make sure that you like chose a proper reason. Like reason means this is the reason, different reason, which is like having a data center across all the world. Like in US, they have four region like uh, US East, US East, Ohio, North California, Oregon, and then in Africa, Cape Town, Asia Pacific, Hong Kong, Jakarta, Mumbai, Osaka, Seoul, Singapore, Sydney. So they have region in all over the world. So when you are like deploying your AWS services, please make sure that you have selected your desired region, because sometimes if you forget to if you have like deploy EC2 resource in North Virginia, and you are working in Ohio on the next login, then that North Virginia resources will also cost you, and Ohio resources also will cost you more. So make sure that you select the proper reason, and for the testing purpose, if you are working as a testing purpose, because when you are working with any company, so they have a specific reason and they have a proper guideline to work, right? So if you are working as an individual, so first you make sure that try to stick in some specific reason where you want to do your testing, or if you want to test high availability, like uh, uh, if you are doing a lab on high availability, like deploying a resource in two region, then you can choose region one or two, anyone which you want, but just make a note of it that at the end you have to like delete all the resources which are unused or which you have just created for the testing purpose. So if you forget to like know in which region you have created your EC2, you can just click on EC2 global view. So it will give you the idea that in which region your which resource is running. So anyone who is facing a difficulty to understand this console, you can ping me in the chat box. I will explain in more detail. So if you see that EC2 means Elastic Cloud Compute, this is similar to like creating a server or hosting any workstation or server in the cloud. So if you see here that this is a summary of my region, that enabled region are 17 region, instance 0 in 0 region, VPC 18 in 17 region, subnet 57 in 17 region, security group 19. So these are some default virtual private cloud, because every region has one default, at least one default VPC uh, already created. VPC means cloud network. So if you choose all the default setting, then automatically it will attach to the default networking. Then that default network is by default attached to one public IP address, right? From which you can access your this machine. So if you scroll down a little bit, then resource region count, you can see that instance status. If you forget to delete any instance, you can check it here, that any unused instance is there, you can check it here, or from the global page, if you can check it also here. So we will do one thing, we will create our first EC2 machine. So it will give you some basic idea like how to launch a first server. So if you just scroll a little bit down, it will give you the option to launch an instance. When you click on that, so at the top it is giving me the warning that you have opted in the new launch experience. About this experience, or still you can still return to the previous version by opting out. So it is asking my opinion if I want to use a previous interface or I want to use a new interface. But like after some time, AWS automatically shift user to the new interface. So it will keep both interface for you can say that 6 months or 1 year, and after that it will completely transform all the user to the new interface. So when you are going to launch your first this EC2 instance, you can say that virtual machine. The Amazon EC2 allow you to create a virtual machine or an instance that run on AWS cloud quickly and get started by following simple steps. So first you want to name your EC2 instance. For example, my first Windows server. Sometime see, name and tagging. This is a very important uh, topic. So when you have a, like, say, if you are working with a bigger organization, they have 1,000 of EC2 instance. So if you have done a proper tagging of each and every instance, then it will be easier to you to locate your instance which you want to which you want to work with. Otherwise, if you have do not name your instance, then it will be very difficult to find the instance from 1,000 instance. So every time you must you have to name your instance properly so that you can easily locate find your right instance from a number of instance. So second step is like application and OS image. So Amazon has previously captured a virtual image. So if anyone new to this virtual image concept, it means that like they have installed a operating system on their physical server. Then they capture uh, that operating system in a image. Image is some kind of a ISO file or any other extension which it depend upon the virtual image creating program. So that image will have some basic setting. So it will automatically copy that particular OS to uh, the online AWS storage so that it can launch our virtual machine. So there are many type of different AWS images are there. For example, Amazon Linux means Amazon have done some specific tweaking in the Linux, so they have developed their own Linux flavor like Amazon Linux. For example, all you know that Linux is an open source platform, but some resources when you are working with the enterprise, there's then you need to have a proper patching or proper updation or proper that OS image file which provide you proper security. So Red Hat has developed their own Linux flavor. So they have optimized that OS for enterprise uses. So Ubuntu is there, Windows is there. So we will start with the creating a Windows resource. So if you are using for a testing purpose, you can check that there is a free tier is written there. You can select that image only. Otherwise, other image will cost you like some from some cent to some dollars, depend upon like how long you have run that machine. So I choose that free tier image. So it will give me the description that Microsoft Windows Server 2019 with the desktop experience. The language is English. So there are other language also available across other different like anyone from say China want to use Microsoft in their own native language, they can use by selecting that Chinese image of this Windows server. So it also give me some technical information about that image is 64-bit architecture, and this is the unique ID of that image. So every image has their own ID. That is Amazon Machine Image, AMI. Yeah, you can also AWS also call it as a AMI, Amazon Machine Image. So instance type is T2 micro. T2 micro means there are like various type of compute resources Amazon offer to us. It depend upon like uh, how much powerful computer you want. Like for example, if you have a heavy application and you want to run some heavy database, you then you need to have some larger storage and larger this memory capacity, and sometime you want to run some gaming application, so that time you require some graphics card and more core CPU and with a higher memory. So also it is displaying that on demand Linux pricing is this much dollar per hour, and for Linux and for Windows it is showing here. So key pair. So key pair is what? Key pair is a uh, you can say that it's a kind of a credential which is used to access our machine image. So you can use a key pair to securely connect to your instance. Ensure that you have access to the selected key pair before you launch the instance. Just a minute. Sorry for interruption. So you can choose. You can create your own key pair, or if you don't have, you can like create a new key pair. So you can type. So it will give you a two format PEM or PPK. If you want to connect within just PuTTY. PuTTY is like a remote connection application. So when I created that new key pair, it automatically downloaded. So I have that key pair with me, and now coming to the network settings. So it is giving me the default virtual private. You can also add it if you want to have your own custom VPC setting. Then subnetting. So there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So already they have a 6 availability zone. Availability zone means uh, in North Virginia they have 6 data center, like located at physically located at a different premises. Like if you want to run your application fault tolerant, like if one data center is go down this availability zone, then it will run from the second availability zone. So in North Virginia, they have 6 availability zone. So in some other region, they have one or two, depending upon like how much AWS has invested in that region. So some has 3 availability zone, some has 2 availability zone. So this North Virginia has a 6 availability zone. So if you want to configure your application fault tolerant, then you create an instance in this availability zone. You can say 1A. If you read carefully that US East 1A, and you can create your next instance is 1B. Means then you can like route your traffic to both availability zone, or you can uh, that second availability zone will act as a backup. So if your primary goes down, then traffic will be routed to the second for your highly available website or any database. So auto assign public IP, you must keep it enabled. If you disable, then you can only access your instance from inside this AWS console, but not able to connect to the from the public. For example, if I want to connect from my system to there, then you don't not able to connect that. So must keep it enabled. For some database which we do not want to expose to outer internet, then you need to create a private cloud. So if anyone will are unable to understand any terminology, just type in the chat box. I will answer and I will explain it again. So when I have in the slide I have shown you that there are some firewall name as a security group. So there is a one security group is there, like create a security group or select existing. If you select existing, then it will select a already created security group. Otherwise, you can create a new security group. So right now, for this lab, I will select as a create security group. So if you want to describe this tagging to the security group, win. So I name it that window access SG means security group. So you can name it whatever nomenclature you follow. You can name it in that way only. But make sure that you do the proper tagging, because tagging is very much beneficial when you are working in the large network. So description also, if you want to add some description, otherwise leave, you can leave as it is. So it will automatically created one RDP port like 3389, so that I can access my virtual machine from my desktop. So if you want to access from your own machine IP, if you don't want that anyone else from any other IP can access your machine, you can choose custom IP range, or you can choose your own IP, so that no one else will able to connect to this machine. So I am keeping it anywhere. So you can later on also you can edit that security group. No issue if you forget to open any port. Later on you can edit and you can create that port, or you can remove any unwanted port in that. So it will give you the some warning that the rule with the 000.00 will allow all the IP address to access your instance. So if your database is like very much confidential, then as per the company policy or as per your requirement, you can allow the access from that particular IP, or from that particular IP range only. So coming down to next, it will give me the option to configure a storage. So by default, it will take 30 GB storage, or if you want to configure it by your own, then you can select like reducing or increasing the size of storage. So free tier eligible customer can get up to 30 GB of EBS general purpose SSD, solid state device, or a magnetic storage. Uh, if we use more than this, then it will charge you as per the GBPS we have used. So there are some advanced detail also. So which right now I am not covering, but I'll give you some basic idea like domain join directory IAM instance profile means if you have some security applied to your like who will access your machine. Like earlier we are using Active Directory in Windows server to control the access to the IT resources. So here AWS is using IAM instance profile and host name, IP name or resource name you can use. Then there is a DNS settings. So at the end, I will show you one user data. So sometime if you want to, if you have a script, like if you have a write down a script to automatically creating a website, or you have a like a configuring an a web server, you have a script with you, you can type it here. It automatically run all the command when this machine will initialize. So whatever the like our company give us a this uh, updation that you have to run this policies or this security patching to all the machine which we create at a very first level, then you can paste a script here. It will automatically download that package and install that package when it initialize your machine, right? So it once you have done with all the setting on the right side, it will give you the summary of what option you have chosen. So you have chosen Windows Server 2019, and then you was using T2 micro type of machine, like one CPU core and 1 GB of RAM. And then you created a new security group, and you have choose 30 GB of storage for your instance. So it will again give you the information that in your first year include 750 hours of T2 micro or T3 in the region in which the T2 micro is unavailable. The instance used on a free tier AMI per month. So per month it will give you a 750 hours and 30 GB of EBS storage, 200 million input and outputs like connection request, and 1 GB of a snapshot and 100 GB of a bandwidth to the internet. So launch instance. So once all the settings are done in the correct way, it will give you the message that successfully initiated a launch of an instance with the instance ID number. Oh, sorry for interruption. Uh, so we will click on the view all instance. It will take to us on the page where we have created our first instance. So if you can see that in this window, there is a name of my instance ID. That is a unique ID that is referring to that instance. So my instance state, like it is right now, it is in the running state. Type of instance, status initializing, and then alarm status if any problem found or any other problem happen with my instance, it will show it here. Then availability zone, it will give you that you have launched your instance in US East 1A. Then public DNS, automatically it will create one DNS name for your account, this machine. And then this is a public IP, it has attached to my instance. And There is no elastic IP and IPv64 right now associated with this machine. So it also gives me the inside of that security group name and the key value which is used to authenticate that machine, and also give me the info about launch time. So if you go a little bit down here, it will show you the more detail related to that instance. If you can see that a complete instance summary here, starting from instance ID, public IP, or if you want to browse a single by single each and every, like this is my security group setting. I have not attached any IAM rule, my owner ID and my security group, which port are open, and then in the networking point of view, what is the public IP, what is the private IP. If I want to access my instance from inside AWS console, this is my private IP. Otherwise, this is my public IP. If you want to access from the outside, and then availability zone 1A, and also information about storage status check. Right now, the status has changed from initializing to running. So still it is initializing the check. Once it is written here, then we will know that our machine is initialized properly. So it will take two check. One is system status check and instance status check. So right now, our both are pending. So monitoring, we can also monitor our resource from the outside, like CPU utilization, status, and like networking statistics. So all the detail which we want to monitor, we can monitor it from here also. There are a lot of third-party application are also coming these days, which are specifically monitoring that resource. Otherwise, Amazon Cloud Watch is there, which is used to monitor the resource, because it will create an alarm that your resource is 80% utilized. Then on based on that, you can decide whether to launch a new instance, or you want to reboot your instance, or any like alarm which you configure with the instance, like if more network traffic is there, then you want to increase the bandwidth, or if you launch a multiple instance. So whatever the parameter you want to monitor, you can monitor it through the CloudWatch. That is a Amazon service, and also there are a lot of third-party services out there to monitor your AWS resources. Is my screen is still visible to all? Hello. If my screen is still visible, then please type. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So tagging here, it will show the tagging of your machine. So you can refresh and check the status whether it is updated or not. If you can see that 2x2 check pass. So if you see that, what is this 2x2 check pass mean? The system reachability check pass and instance reachability check pass means it is able to locate the system where our instance is hosted, and also the instance is well connected. So we will now connect with our instance. We will click on the connect button. It will lead to this connect window. So it is giving us a three-way to connect to our instance. One is session manager, like connect to your instance without SS key. or AWS Key Management Service, or RDP client, or EC2 serial console, that is COM port. So I am using this RDP. So one is to use your own RDP, which is you are having in window, or you can download this file. It will give you the one shortcut. So if you click on that shortcut, it will give you the access. Now my RDP screen is visible, or it is not visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
So first time you want to create a password by which you can log into your key. You can browse that key Windows server. It will give you the password. So you need to click on the decrypt password. So it will give you the password to log into your RDP profile. It is giving some error. Let's check that. It is giving me an error that are not able to install to the instance. So when you are like facing this kind of error, then you need to inspect the security group which you have attached, so that we can see that RDP port is open or not. It is saying it is open. You can click on SG to edit that. Already the RDP port is open, but it is not. Generally, it will show here connect page, but right now I think Security is required to connect to the instance. Just wait for a moment. Meanwhile, we will launch one more instance. You can also create an instance from here, launch instance. So I will quickly launch the instance with the default setting. So automatically I do not change any setting here. I just click on the launch button. It will also launch one new setting. But remember, you need to create a key pair. We will wait for a 2 to 3 minutes. It will initialize the instance, and then we will try to connect. Make sure that the status check you have seen that, otherwise it will not allow you to connect to your instance. Right now it is in an initializing stage. So meanwhile, you can check that it was already associated one public IP and one private IP to your instance. And you can also see that the virtual cloud VPC information from the networking window. We will see the see it has created a this machine in US East availability zone 1D. So it is basically it decide that which uh, availability zone is like more uh, like available and are able to access fastly. So it is initializing. So once you select the instance, it will give you a various information like you can stop your instance, you can reboot your instance, you can terminate your instance. So in case if you are like working on some project which requires some more time to spend on instance, or you are like require that instance again on the next day, or you are keeping your instance in hibernate condition, then also it will cost you for storage only, not for the compute power. So it is better to stop the instance and use the default storage which they are offering under the free tier. So any storage above free tier, it will start costing you for any another extra GB which you have added to your storage. So when you terminate your instance, it will automatically delete the attached storage with that instance. And if you have like attach a specific other storage, maybe a second volume, sometime it will not delete that volume, so that storage will be there. So better to monitor the resource from the global dashboard, that how many storage are you are having in any this region. I think it is good to go. So we can also connect from instance from here. If you click on the connect, it will open another tab where it will connect to the machine. I think with the window instance, I have click on that additional information when I was explaining. So I have not associated any role, IAM role, to connect to this instance. So that is why I think it is not allowing me to connect to that. So this time it is allowing me to connect to my instance. This also is giving a problem. I think security TCP is there.
It's 4:45 p.m. Time to start wrapping up your workday and plan for
I think sorry for interruption. I think it is some problem related to my IAM role. So I need to take a look on it. So otherwise, this is the procedure by which we can create and connect to our instance. So it will like take some time to troubleshoot this. So tomorrow, what I will do is I will start by explaining this current issue, and then we can move forward. So that till the time, if you have any query related to that, you can ask me now.
Hi, sir. Sir, can you just brief us about how many modules and what are the topics are there?
Related to that, cloud.
Yes, yes.
For cloud, we will cover some database application like MySQL and NoSQL database. We will create some private cloud, and then we will create a public cloud. There are some labs are there by which we can see like how in the enterprise we will host our database in private cloud, and we can set up our server in public cloud, so that whatever the request is coming to our public cloud, we will uh, like redirect that database request to the private cloud. Basically, the setting up a private cloud is to secure our database, because we don't want that our database should expose to the internet openly, so that any hacker can log into our database and steal the database. So we will see some real business scenario related to like how this NoSQL database is more suitable for the large database, where you can get a single digit latency to fetch any kind of a data. And what are the application, what are the use of public and private cloud in AWS? And also we will host some static website through S3. Like if you are not want to use any kind of a VM machine, virtual machine, still you are able to uh, uh, host a static website only on your S3 storage. So like that, we have some few labs which we will cover, and it will give you a more brief idea about the services on the cloud. Because like AWS, other also offering same kind of a services like Alibaba. They are also offer same kind of a compute services, but sometimes the name changes depending on a service provider to service provider. But although concept is same.
Okay, sir. Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else have any question related to today topic which we have covered?
Sir, hello, sir.
Yes, please tell me.
Yeah, IAM is used for creation of the users or what?
Pardon? IAM.
I yeah,
You want to understand that what IAM is?
yes, sir. IAM function.
Yeah, IAM.
I think
See, if you have
it is used for the creation of the user.
actually see, when you are working with a large organization or any organization which are cloud this solution provider, or like they are using cloud for services for themselves, then there are different departments. Some are developers, some are like solution architect, some are like handling operations, some are handling administrative tasks. So we will like uh, if for example, if we have a five group, like finance department or account department or developer department, then there are some machine which we want to give access to the finance department, which we want to give access to the account department, then or developing team. So we will create a different group. So there are user group and there are users. So under group, first we need to segregate that uh, uh, a group of people which using having a same kind of rights. We will put all the user in that particular group. For example, if we have created a admin group and a user group, so user will have only access to connect to the EC2 instance. They are not allowed to delete or modify the EC2 instance. They can connect to the EC2 instance, and then they can use for their work. and administrator are the person who are able to create, terminate, or you can say that uh, do other functionality for that instance. So by creating a user group and user, we can control the access of the services. So by default, this administrator user have the access. Console user has access to the billing information. No other user has the access to the billing information. If you create an administrator user in the IAM resource, then you're trying to access the AWS console. You can access all the feature, but you are not able to access billing information. Billing only can be accessed through the console only. So there are various different parameter also, like if we want to apply some policy on the user, or like how many hours they are allowed to connect to the instance, like that. There are a lot of things we can like granularly control the access by putting some policies or by putting user in different groups. I hope I have answered your query.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Anyone else who have any doubt related to today's session?
Sir, one more thing, sir.
Yes, please.
EC2, you told an EC2 instance, sir. How can it will be helpful for the employees, sir, for EC2 instance?
Pardon?
For what purpose they will use?
See, EC2 instance, like if you want to uh, why we are using a computer in our this uh, you can say in organization. For example, if you have some database which is located on the cloud, and you want to connect to that this uh, that database, so you have configure your virtual machines, like a number of virtual machine there in cloud. You can connect through that also. It will give you a more control to your data. Some person like sitting in any country could log into their this AWS account, and then can work on that. Basically, that software developer who are developing or interacting with the database, they are used to connect to that EC2 instance. Or like if we have some specific software install which we do not want that we do not want that that software should install on the on this user computer, then they can connect to our this instance remotely. Basically that happen in banking sites. For example, if you imagine the this call center of Citibank or this any bank, this ICI bank. So at the in the call center, they have only a computer at front of them, but whatever the resource they are using, they have a application any remote connecting application, maybe RDP or any Citrix application, which will connect user to the machine which is located somewhere else, whether it is located in the private cloud or whether it is located on the Amazon cloud. So all the data, all the application banking are installed in that particular machine. So user are not allowed to copy or retrieve the data. They only can access the, for example, the user account from that window. I hope I have answered your query.
Yeah, okay, sir. I got it.
Anyone else have any doubt related to today's session? So I will brief a little bit about today's session. So today we have learned about what is cloud and what are the benefit of having using the cloud services and why it is more popular these days over a traditional data center. So basically, like for any startup who quickly want to do the testing or want to test their heavy this 3D application or any heavy gaming application, they can easily go to the AWS and purchase a high power machine. They can do their testing where if it is successful, so they can evaluate that whether they will host they will purchase the machine to pay that upfront cost, or they can still do the testing on their cloud services machine. So it will give you both like your time is consume you will consume less time to for testing, and you have a lot of time for the innovation. You can more focus for your project rather than worrying about to procuring and then installing a data center for your application. So these days, lot of industry are like opting for cloud services for their testing purpose. So later on, if they afford, they can plan their database private, or if they are uh, within their budget, they can host it on the cloud itself. Because from beginning to till date, AWS has reduced their cost to 45 times for their this services. So they are like number of user are growing on the AWS. They are decreasing their cost day by day. So it will be more affordable in the upcoming days also. So I think we are done for today's session. So tomorrow we will start with the first this problem which we are facing to connect the internet, and then we will have some scenarios like configuring some database in the public and private cloud, and we will see 2 to 3 more lab related to that AWS service.
Sir, tomorrow session is also same team, sir.
Tomorrow session is not same. Tomorrow we will create some more lab in the AWS. So tomorrow will be like different labs. So
Not
I
sir.
will,
Timing, sir. This time 3 o'clock or
yeah, time will be the same. You will get it from uh, our coordinator in just a minute.
Yeah, hello sir. One more thing.
Yes, yes, tell me.
Yeah, sir. In a recorded video, can you upload in YouTube, sir?
Yeah, that will be shared by the session coordinator to you. No issue.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So just a minute, be online. Okay, thank you everyone. Session coordinator will now take on the session, and tomorrow I think they will also inform you the time, like when we will have the session related to the cloud. Thank you everyone. Thank you for your patience.
So, good evening, all. Sir, before ending it, may I know your inputs? What is the suitable time for you? We are planning for like after your office hours, like after 6 or 7. So, I will have your input. Please guide me. What is the best suitable time for you?
Yeah, we can have it around 6 or 7. No issue for me.
Great. So, candidates over here, whosoever joining the session, please give your inputs as well. Lokesh, Sachita, Chaitra, Swantini, Sunil, Nilesh, Upendra. So, this time is okay, or should I schedule it after your office time?
It is fine around 6.
6?
Yeah.
Okay, done. So, we'll update you. By evening, I'm going to put the same thing in the group. Thank you all.